I want to thank Doris and Rod for giving me this opportunity. I don't get a lot of opportunities to speak. I'm running as a Democrat, and the Democrats have locked me out completely because I'm taking them on full bore. And I'm also taking on, as a caveat, the Republican Party also.
Wow.
They are equally doing us a disservice in this country. Doris mentioned I'm going to speak to the Constitution. Everything that's going on in this country right now is eroding and destroying what our forefathers fought for, our Bill of Rights. There is a bill that just passed the other day. Look, that was a slip of the tongue.
That was.
President Obama, Freudian slip. President Obama passed a bill the other day, December 31st, my wife's birthday, whereby it's called the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, whereby you or I could be rounded up by the military and put into prison with no due process. This is serious. This just passed the other day. No jury of your peers, no due process, no representation, and held indefinitely. 3.5 years ago, right around there, George Bush signed a bill, most people don't know about this either, whereby a United States citizen outside the United States could be assassinated with no due process, and 2 people that we know of have been killed to this day by drone attacks. No hearing, nothing. That's the country and the climate that you and I are living in. And our children and grandchildren, can you imagine what they're going to be living in if we allow this to continue? That's about right. You look around, you see how many people right now are losing their homes, their jobs, their careers, their ability to put food on the table. And I don't see any representative speak into this except for Ron Paul, Bernie Sanders, and Dennis Kucinich. 3 people from 3 different parties who are considered the wackos of their parties, and they're not. They're the only ones speaking the truth and actually representing us. And I can tell you right now, I would like to see President Obama impeached. I would like to see him up for treason. I'd like to see him up for war crimes, and there's no statute of limitations for war crimes when you get out of the presidency. I'd like to see George Bush and Cheney also for war crimes. There's enough fault to go around. There are some issues I wanted to speak to tonight that directly affect the Constitution. In fact, everything I'm going to speak to tonight affect the Constitution and our rights on a daily basis. Besides the NDAA bill that just passed, that not many people heard, how many people here, in fact, have heard about this? That's pretty good. I talked to probably about 55, 60 people the last couple of days, only 1 person knew of it. The news isn't reporting this for the most part. The internet has a lot of information on this. There are so many issues out there right now, and I'm going to speak to 3 of them. How many of you knew that a 3rd building collapsed on 9/11? Building number 7. Please raise your hand once again. Hi. Not many people knew about that. Yes, a 3rd building collapsed. It was not hit by a plane. And the government doesn't want you to know there's another story to that. In fact, there are over 1,600 architects and engineers who have signed a petition asking for a new investigation. But when you study that, you find out there was something else that was going on years before that under Bill Clinton. The Oklahoma City bombing. How many people knew that Timothy McVeigh was seen at least 24 times in the Murrow building 3 weeks prior to the bombing? This is all fact, and I'll back everything I say. This lady knew about it. I will back up everything I speak to with absolute corroborating evidence and declassified documents, testimony from police officers, former ATF agents, and government officials who are speaking to this. There's a movie just released called The Noble Lie that speaks to this. My brother, who didn't want to believe any of this stuff, saw both movies, one on 9/11 and another one on Oklahoma City bombing, and he called me the other night and he said, "My God, John, you better be careful." I was amazed, what we had never seen before. But he said, "I have to tell you, why should I be amazed or anybody else? The media is owned now by 5 corporations. They control everything in this country. And it's not just in this country. If you look around, the UK, exactly the same things happen there too. If you look at the cities right now, a lot of the cities around this California and around this country are putting up surveillance cameras. This is no joke. There's an article the other day, and I can give you all this information. There's an article speaking to the fact that many cities in this horrible climate we live in as far as the economy are allocating money to put surveillance cameras and audio on light poles around many of the cities.
Hey, I'm doing that in my city.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because little kids with spray paint should face property.
Okay, well that's an issue, but the fact is, why are we allocating money for that right now when we have so many more important issues?
Because it costs us a lot of money to replace the things they screw up.
You know what, if I may say...
To buy the cameras, it costs us
Well, no, I think it's going to end well. Okay, but you know what? Where's the limit on that? Do we have any freedom right now? Are we going to be watched and we're going to be listened into? We have some rights in this country, and that's greatly affecting the rights that we have. Are we going to limit any of this stuff? There are many police officers I've spoken to who are not happy about it. And there are... Well, you know what? We can all specifically come up with certain individuals that are happy about certain things. But you know what? There's a lot of information that I could give to this that I think is going to make many of you very unhappy. But we have to have open minds on this stuff.
We don't want an unhappy crowd.
No, that's fine. But I'm not trying to make people unhappy. I'm trying to make people aware of what's really going on. Oh, no, I do have an open mind, sir. I truly do. At a later time, I will. I only have about 10 minutes to speak to this issue. All these other issues. But if you would like to go on my website, it's johnfitzgeraldforcongress.com, and I will speak to you. In fact, I put my phone number on there. Every single piece of information I give about my campaign, I have my phone number on it where you can actually call me directly, and you and I can speak to it. I'll meet you for coffee if you'd like.
I don't drink it.
Anything you'd like to drink, sir. So, if I may, I'm not trying to endorse, I'm not trying to get anybody upset here.
I know, but this is kind of off the subject of what we're talking about tonight. See, we're talking about what we're going to do.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to get into Congress and I'm going to work with people like you.
As a group.
Okay, as a group, we need to get together and realize, as Rod has told me, you've told me, this is not a partisan issue, what I'm speaking to tonight. This is an American issue, and we've all got to step up to the plate. Nobody can get into Congress right now unless they have millions and millions of dollars, and that's wrong. And I'm proving to people that I can get into Congress. I'm not taking a penny from corporations. I'm not asking for anybody's money. I'm asking them to listen to what I have to say and to give me an opportunity to speak before groups, and I'll back up every claim that I make with evidence and facts. So once again, johnfitzgeraldforcongress.com. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak, and I'm going to be at these meetings again. Thank you. Thanks.
And I do want John to come back. I want John to come back in his office as a candidate and speaking his platform so that you all have a chance to hear from every candidate.